BlizzCon 2015! We are a mere few hours away from finding out who the last Heart of the Swarm champion is. Just so everyone at home knows, are you all excited? And who wouldn't be? 4 players left, knocking them out one by one. Who will go to the finals? We still have 2 players left alive, going for a second title, and it's time to find out if that dream can continue. Our first semifinal match. Yesterday, we finally heard his name seeping out throughout the arena. He got the title of Wintoss, but can he continue that to pick up that trophy here at the end of the day? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, representing SKT T1, it is Classic! And if there's an SKT, there is a KT on the other side in StarCraft. We all know that. To go up against Classic is a man who's going for not only his second WCS global title, but back-to-back titles, coming out as the reigning champion. Please welcome to the stage, Life! Up his Heart of the Swarm career with back-to-back titles, or will Classic finally make sure everybody remembers exactly who it is? It's time to find out here on the last day of the WCS Global Finals. It's time to start knocking players out one by one. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Classic. Please welcome Hero!
Classic is starting this one with a bang. What is Hero's answer here? It's just trying his hardest. But it looks like Classic does have enough to defend, and that is it. These are some of the very best StarCraft 2 players that we have in the world.
Hello, here's the rest of my army, and Classic is not going to take this series right now, right here. Starting to look like this rivalry will continue as Classic is going to continue his streak. This is going to be the end.
Hero is going to win this fight and win this game. GG! And Classic moves on.
This is the match that so many of us have been waiting for all weekend long. It is Innovation versus Life.
Two very different playstyles, which is also what makes this matchup so interesting.
It should be the back-breaking move here that will make the Zerg force a GG. And this is not looking good for Life. He's trading about 7 roaches for each tank he kills, and that's it.
Life is getting ready. He might go to try to crack this front here. The Bailey's rolling in. Beautiful hits there. This could be huge. They're so close.
Slowly getting surrounded. More bungles going down. These queens starting to really push in. And GG! Life has done it! Life taking that series 3-1.
Classic versus Life. I cannot wait for this match. I mean, at this point, it becomes very difficult to predict because of the fact that Life is known to always pull some pretty remarkable moves when he's late in a tournament. And Dario, you're an expert on being creative, especially with the Zerg pieces. So tell me, what is it that makes Life such an exceptional player in the Zerg vs Protoss matchup?
I believe one of the main reasons why Life is so good in general is that he just plays, as you said, creative and different from anybody else. But he, unlike me, he actually has the mechanics to, back it up 100% of the time. Because when you have such a flexible playstyle, it's easy to make mistakes. But he just doesn't make the mistakes that usually finicky player like that make.
Actually, it's weird. Where Life is one match away from going to yet another grand final here at BlizzCon, and I feel like he hasn't been challenged. And he hasn't been challenged by innovation. And then before that, Lilbo, like, we have yet to see him really get pushed to the limit. And on the other side is Classic, who I feel like is almost in a similar boat, although not nearly as much, but Life has been super impressive.
Man, you know that thing that you talked about earlier where people continue to underrate Classic?
Yes. Are we going to do it
I
again?
mean, did you even hear my intro? I was like, let's talk about Life! And here's Classic, 3-0 with Bjol, 3-1 with Hero, and those games looked honestly pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Bjol series is, I guess, because it was a PVZ, it's the one we're going to take away here and
Yeah.
see how his PVZ looks coming in against Life. Life is arguably in a slump, or has been in a slump up until this tournament, and Bjol has been, you know, a top 2 finisher in a lot of the major Korean tournaments.
The consistent Zerg.
The consistent Zerg. I mean, he's not number 1, but
Yeah, I think
consistent number 2 is pretty damn good.
it's really good. It's
But-
to be celebrated,
But that wasn't quite the pure we saw here at the tournament.
which is interesting, I think. And I think from that point, I would like to say, like, we talk so much about where they've been historically and how they've been all year, but really it just matters how you are at BlizzCon. And in everything else is just to give you like flavor of where they perhaps are. But in this tournament here, Life is rampaging.
Wow, Cactus Valley downvoted by Life. I mean, Dash and Terminal, we always expect at least one player to do that. Game number 1 is going to be Iron Fortress from Life. I mean, I'm actually pretty surprised by the Cactus Valley downvote.
No. That's very common.
He disagrees with
It's
me.
a very common veto by Zerg players. It's an awful map against Protoss, so I would completely agree with that.
The doctor's orders are in. Sean, to back you up, I think it's a really weird pick too, actually, the more I think about it. No. But Iron Fortress to start, a classic ZVP map, and a lot of, the puns, I didn't mean that. But it does oftentimes encourage the Protoss to become kind of a 2-base timing attack-oriented Protoss, and I feel like Classic almost doesn't necessarily need that urge. Although, in the match against Bjol, we saw him get to really safe 3-base, and just your kind of very standard Immortal, Blinkstalker, Sentry composition seems to be kind of his bread and butter, but we saw some different openings off of him as well.
Like, I think the biggest thing that I think about with Classic as a player is that he's very easy to frame as the boss. His opponent is often viewed as the hero's story, you know, where, oh my gosh, can Hero manage to get enough units to fight against Classic? Wow, is Life going to be able to pull this off again? And I mean, it's like in a movie, they never give the villain enough credit for being a guy who's pretty close to taking over the world. That's a pretty impressive feat as is, right?
We need more of that. We need more villain good stories, I feel.
Now, of course, I just have to ask, Maynard, we've been talking a lot about Classic up on the stage. Life is obviously a huge crowd favorite here. Who's your prediction to pull this win off?
My prediction actually is with the crowd. I think Life's going to win this one.
Wow.
I think he's going to go in the final.
Okay, all right, BlizzCon, ease up there.
Life's going to win BlizzCon! Look how easy it is. I should be host.
Yeah. It's super easy.
Jeff and I are keeping it real here in the middle. You're also sticking with SOS, right?
Well, we're gonna get to this.
Well, with Classic, I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm
Classic
gonna
is
go
making
with.
this
Let me
match.
try this. All right, there's a lot of Live fans here. The fan favorite Classic.
Oh my gosh. I don't.
There they are.
Hello.
I don't even know.
I
if
didn't
that
even
was-
know.
And again, let's underrate Classic and say, I think that was you, Jeff, that pulled that off there.
You're right, actually.
That was
I'm
incredible.
more recognizable and probably more successful. Yeah. It was me.
TLO, your pick to win this match.
Why doesn't the crowd give it up for Classic?
Well, now see if they're gonna cheer for TLO as well. Right? Could be anybody.
Well, I'm going to round things out by throwing in for Life. I think not only is he going to win this match, I think Life's going to win the entire tournament.
Wow.
And every tournament forever.
Okay, well that you had me until the end.
He's going to learn to fly. I'm just going to continue to amp up predictions. Without any further ado, let's get into game number 1. Casters, take it away.
Thank you very much, Day 9. The 2014, the fan favorite and the reigning world champion takes on Classic in the first semi-final of the day. A best of 5 to see who will go to the grand finals and play for a best of 7 and $100,000 first place. And more importantly, Moonglade, the title of the 2015 World Champion.
That's right. Can Life do it again? It's a big question. No one would have picked it all year long until this point, and he's starting to perform once again, starting to ramp up. So I'm so excited to see how this is going to turn out.
All right, here we go. First semi-final of the day. Down here on Iron Fortress, spawning in as the blue Protoss player, playing for SKT Telecom. It's Classic. And his opponent, the rival team, as the red Zerg player playing for KT Rolster, is the reigning world champion. It's Life!
So many Life fans in this audience. Not a surprise after what he did last year. And this is going to be an interesting match to start things off. Obviously, this was Life's map pick. And it definitely is not favorable for Protoss. It is such an open map. Trying to take a third and a fourth can be extremely hard, especially against someone as aggressive as Life. And I mean, if we look back at the round of 16, he is pretty aggressive.
And that's what we should be expecting to see today, because of course, semi-finals straight into the grand finals. That is how he plays. But at this current point in the game, we see Classic moving out with a second probe, and a forge has been constructed very early on.
That's right. Looks like he's going to put on the aggression. I can't blame him at all. Usually Protoss might look for more aggressive sort of styles on this map to avoid going to that third base mid-game. And, well, Life already going for that very early hatchery. We could very well see that cannon rush.
And there's the first pylon placed down here by Classic. Life has pulled a drone to have a look what's going on. And he does see the pylon being built and pulls 3 additional drones.
All right, so not a completely overcommittal sort of drone pull there. Gonna pull 1 more as well, so 5 drones to try and block where they might go down, and just to make sure he has enough to try and cancel some cannons if they are planted.
Is this going to take place here today? The probe looking around the back side of the mineral line.
Oh, he's thinking about it, but I think he's kind of let the pylon get too low at this point, and he's gonna put down that Nexus instead.
All right, so the cannon rush has been stopped here by drones, by the Life's drones, and the pylon is going to go down.
But you know what? Despite the fact that he didn't actually get anything done with his pylon, he wasn't mining with 5 drones for that long, so it certainly is worth it regardless.
All right, so we're going to go into the next part here. Classic naturally now pushed into this 2-base setup, where he's going to have to take a bit of time, and he's got some thinking time at this point to decide on what his plan is going into the mid-game. What tech choice will he do? Are we going to be seeing the very normal gateway third expansion type of play, or if he's going to be looking to change it up in some other areas?
It is a really interesting sort of situation, one that we don't normally see Classic in, because certainly he does not favor this kind of map at all. I kind of am leaning towards him probably going for some sort of 2-base style, especially against someone like Life, and I just don't see him really trying to make a macro game out of this.
All right, well, the Cybernetics core has gone down within this wall, and Life has a couple of Zerglings to have a look at what's going on exactly while placing his third hatchery down. And he's got full vision here on this wall for the time being. Zealot is on its way, which will look to push these set of Zerglings back.
That's right, and I mean, he's got that view of that Cybernetics core, so he knows exactly when the next tech will be going down, when he needs to send in an Overlord if he needs to, if he wants to. And he's also got view of that forge, so he knows if that +1 is going to be researched any time soon for perhaps a gateway sort of all-in.
All right, so Zealot's here just to push back the Zerglings to allow Classic a bit of room to decide on what he's going to go to next. And we'll see if Life can tackle Classic, because definitely throughout this series, we're looking at an aggressive and a tricky and a scrappy Zerg player that will want to drag the game that way, compared to Classic, who's going to be looking to play a solid game. He probably feels that he is the more solid and the better player the longer the game goes.
Yeah, Bial referred to him as like a dishonorable sort of Protoss player, and it's because he wants to take it to the late game where he can make that giant death ball and be extremely comfortable, which is no doubt why Life chose this map first as well.
All right, well, the Twilight Council has been placed down now by Classic. Spore Crawler #1 has been placed in the second base here for Life. Obviously good against Stargate player for Oracles to come in good against any Dark Templar play. Even a second Spore Crawler is on his way. Life right now, Moonglade, has not good vision on what Classic's up to. He's got no Overlord in the correct position. He's only got these Zerglings up front, and he's trying to figure out what this Protoss is up to.
Certainly so. It's a very difficult situation. He's not going to really find anything. He saw a sentry for a second there, but that doesn't tell you too much at this point in the game. And he really will be trying to look for anything that he can with that Overlord, and it is going to be that Dark Shrine.
All right, so some Dark Templars coming into play now. And there is a probe out in the middle of the map, near the center part here, which is obviously going to be the probe that will be looking to plant a pylon down somewhere on the side. But Life does have a Zergling there. He's already got Spore Crawlers.
Yeah, he should be in a good place to find, to kind of defend against it, so long as he has units in place. You know, Dark Templars can definitely destroy a Spore Crawler pretty quickly if there's more than one.
And at this moment, Life knows that there's no third base down. My Protoss player at the 8-minute mark here, on 2 bases, clearly is up to at least something at this moment. He started his unit production very early on. Here's the probe that's moved slightly to the west here, that is planted down that pylon and will be the location for the Dark Templar to come into this game. And now Life, can he piece this puzzle together? He's having a look at the front wall here, sees a set of units, but can he really click that Dark Templar are going to be up here shortly?
That's right. Classic is trying his best to sell it that he wants to go for that third base. He's trying to build infrastructure around that ramp so he can push his way up eventually. Worried about Lings, or perhaps, or at least pretending to, while he gets those Dark Templar on the map.
4 of them indeed, so 3, and now even another one. So I think that's maybe a total of 5 indeed coming out here. And let's see how much damage Classic can do, because he needs to. A Warp Prism as distraction comes into the natural, is spotted by the Spore Crawler and taken out. Life. Is he going to be able to take damage here? Can Classic deal the damage? The Spore Crawler obviously giving the detection, but is going to go down incredibly fast, and obviously is going to be needed to be more. And the Spore Crawler goes down, and the hunt for the hatchery begins.
Oh, it's going to be doing so much damage. He might actually get out this Overseer in time, though, so close. I think he's going to go down the last second, and that is a huge blow for Life. You never want to lose a hatchery this early on, not against a Protoss, not on any map. And this is going to give Classic the window of opportunity to go for that third base or go for an all-in behind this.
His economy has been stuck now, Life. He's down to 2 bases. His production, naturally as well, is also going to be a lot slower, not having that hatchery, being able to have a queen, lava inject into it for the more lava that he needs to produce an army. And now, with what Life has left over, he's going to move forward.
Oh, he's going to go for a big counterattack. He also has Burrow, by the way, and there's no detection at the front besides that cannon, just out of range.
Yeah, good set of force fields there. Do hold Life back for now.
He's going to be pushing forward as well. If he can get rid of this cannon, he's eventually going to have Burrow movement, which is going to really help out in pushing, and that Robo is miles away from finishing.
But surely at this point with Life almost back online with his economy on this third base, and Classic not having his own third Nexus and kind of stuck in his own 2-base situation. How bad really is this for Life? I mean, he's 60 supply up.
He's 60
and a lot of Stalkers jumping left and right, trying to maximize their value here as Life jumps back to his main base to keep the unit production up, and is Classic starting to be broken. The Hydra's doing a lot of damage. More Stalkers are going to be needed to be warped in.
There's such a huge amount on the left side, but more and more Lings coming in to kind of buffer for these Hydras. They cannot trade without them.
And this is looking like it's a very successful fight here for Life. And he breaks down the initial forces, and a handful of leftover units from Classic, a few on the right, a few on the left, blink away in retreat. And Life has broken this position. He's unlocked this third base to be able to be destroyed. But he's going for an outright kill. He continues his attack towards the second.
If he can push forward and get down the Cyber Core, he's going to be in such a great place. If he cannot make any more Stalkers, he's in a hopeless position right now.
Cybernet is for a key target here for Life, who charges forward. Aggression is what we know Life for, and he is showing Classic that in game number 1.
Look what he's doing. He's trying to focus down these Overseers as well, so he can maybe warp in some Dark Templar, but Life being very careful, babysitting them as well.
Oh, he tempts him. He's going to get both the Overseers, and it looks like a Dark Templar has been let loose and will deal damage here, and this should be enough for Classic to hold on, but the third Nexus is being targeted down, and Classic is going to call it GG. Life takes map number 1 here against Classic in this best of 5.
Really beautiful play from Life. Despite losing that third hatchery early on to the Dark Templar, he's counterattacked, did all it needed to do, straight out, buy enough time, rebuild his economy, and from there he just made the right choices in terms of aggression.
And Life continues to find a way. He entered the global finals with a lot of doubt whether he would be able to perform and defend his championship title. Of course, he demolished Lilbo in the round of 16, 3-0, and then went on to beat Innovation, a massive favorite for this tournament. But here's a quick moment, thanks to Windows 10 Games DVR, where we saw the Dark Templar moving forward, which did get the Spore Crawler and even the hatchery on top of this. But Life stayed calm and was able to continue forward with his original plan.
That's right. Any lesser of a Zerg player is in such a hopeless position right now, but he knew what he had to do at this point. He knew the kind of investment it is to make 4 Dark Templar like that. Obviously, your army's going to be so small, so he can pressure the front, delay the third base of the Protoss from here.
And look at this beautiful fight, Moonblade. It was the spread of units, the Roaches burrowing towards the army while the Hydras continued to deal damage at the back.
Yeah, and you know, the lack of sentries in this army, there's simply not enough gas income on 2 bases to go for all this kind of tech as well as mass Stalker sentries, so he had a pretty easy time fighting and trading efficiently right here.
And this was a good fight and continued, and something that Life has clearly worked on coming into this is his macro mechanics behind this. It's looking flawless. He's been able to produce so many units. He's hitting his lava injects, and Classic just couldn't keep up.
Absolutely not. I mean, this is one of the great things of joining a Casper Team KT like he did. It gave him those core mechanics that maybe he never had in StarTale, and it's really showing this year.
Well, the number 4 seed coming into the global finals. Of course, Life started incredibly well in 2015. Had a bit of a downfall, but still came into this tournament rank 4. Moves forward to the second map, which is going to be Terraform.
Yes, and that is going to be certainly Classic's pick, and it's going to be a bit of a tricky map to fight for Life to try and find a way on, especially in terms of aggression early on, because there's so many paths, so many choke points. It's going to really favor the Classic style of sitting back, turtling, and making that giant army for the late game.
As our stage transforms ready for Terraform, we get ready to move into the second map between these two players. Throughout the years, Zerg has had a little bit of a better win rate against Protoss, but on a stage this size, with so much pressure on the shoulders of both of these players, what will that matter loading into this? Up here to the top left-hand side, playing for SK Telecom. Please make some noise for Classic! Top 4 from last year's global finals at BlizzCon. He's there again, very consistent, but can he go one step further? Down here to the bottom right-hand side, playing for KT Rolster, the reigning world champion. It's Life! And there's something very special about this youngster, Moonblade, that he just has this X factor about him. When he needs to deliver, he can.
He is one of a kind when it comes to Zerg. There is no one else like him. His aggression, his way of thinking about the game, the way he executes it as well is on another level. No one can really replicate what he does. And as we see again, he's going to go for that greedy opening. This is something I think we're going to see time and time again in this series, simply because it is Classic. And Classic isn't playing for that early game. He wants to go late as possible. He wants to get the 3-4 base, sit there until at least 150 population, before he wants to move out and try and fight Life.
And look at this mind game coming out from Classic. Plants the pylon exactly how he did in the previous game. And we are going to see more drones being pulled off, but it is cancellation. A lot of forced lack of mining time from these drones.
Yeah, you know, it's still going to give him that slight edge, delaying that mining just for a little while that time, but still, you know, if you get a cancel on your pylon, you're fine. And it's going to force Life also to make that spawning pool, so he can't go for any sort of greedier build, perhaps a 2 hatchery before pool, which we might see on a bigger map.
And Classic just gateway at the front and then followed by this immediate Nexus. What are some of the more common follow-ups that we see from Protoss players after an opening like this?
Well, especially in Classic's case, I'd have to say we'd see the Oracle more often than not. It's really his go-to, especially against Zerg. If he can, you know, hide him for long enough and go for that double Oracle play. And we saw it in the games against Byal. If he's left unchecked, if he hides it well enough, he's going to get a lot of kills. He'll get a whole mineral line.
Of course, both of these players know each other inside out. They're on rival teams in Korea. SK Telecom and KT have had a long and rich history against each other. And of course, both of these players have played against each other a lot over the years. How much do you reckon that is going to impact this series? They know each other so well, know each other's style.
Yeah, they do certainly know each other a lot. They have a lot of history together. And there's a lot of mind games behind that too. But at the same time, both players play such polar opposite styles that it really is a fascinating thing to see as well. The defensive Protoss who wants to go late game against the aggressive Zerg who wants to end it as quickly as possible. But it really, I think the story of this series more than anything else is really just, can Life find a way in every game? How is he going to do this? Because I don't think the same strategy is going to work from last game, especially on this kind of map.
All right, well, it's time shortly. If we are going to see a Stargate being planted, Classic has the technology to do so now. We'll see, because currently it's not looking like that. Whereas Life looking to get units, Overlords and Zerglings, like we see now, in position to find the probe, to look at what his opponent's up to. He's poking at the front door with his other Zergling as well. And there comes down the Stargate.
Oh, look at that. What a surprise.
So
Classic.
a couple of options obviously now, and you were expecting Oracle.
Yep, Oracle really, it's not usually a tool to try and end the game. It's kind of the aggressive sort of opening that you try and trade out some economy, but more importantly, get the scouting on the map, drop down some revelations, make sure you keep an eye on what the Zerg is doing, what they're making, and try and identify the tech that the Zerg is going to go into. So perhaps Classic will be ready for just about anything. And behind that, secure a third base, more importantly.
And Life, just like the previous game, has his Zergling at the front door, doesn't manage to see too much. He sees a Zealot and Stalker poking forward, so he's going to have to kind of retaliate to this and build some Zerglings of his own to come and defend. But he's got 3 Spore Crawlers, just like he did in the previous game.
Every single game we're going to see in this series, I think Life will simply be going for those blind Spore Crawlers. If he sees nothing, that's okay. As long as he has them there, ready for those classic Oracles. And it is also, you know, one thing if we go back to that Bjorn series that he just didn't do. And it really cost him. So big lessons were learnt in that series.
And the Oracle's about to pop out now. A couple of gateways to support this, as well as the Forge. 16 Zerglings have also been added on here for Life, which is going to give him a bit more of an active control in the center of Terraform to pressure a third base, to pressure or deflect against any units pushing out, as well as a Roach Warren. Very safe overall play from Life, but here comes the Oracle, looking to get into the drone line, obviously, but can he get in?
Man, and not only that, but more and more Lings are on the way. Here we go with the micro of that Oracle, though. He's going to be taking a lot of damage for, what was that, one drone?
One drone kill.
Not too worth it at all. But he still has ample energy left to kind of deal with his Zergling aggression. That is going to be coming across the map.
Yeah, it's on its way, and it has been spotted. Just there, you saw it. Classic has noticed, and he's moving up his force to help protect this third. Losing the third at this point in the game would be a disaster. It shouldn't happen. He's got units and the Oracle to help defend this, and Life knows that. He's going to check around to the natural to see if he can break through here as well.
Oh, wow, this could actually do a lot of work as well. You know, pylons blocking it, not going to last too long, but with this Oracle there, he's going to be trading a lot of Lings for this.
Waiting to plant the force fields necessary. 2 of them do go down to protect the pylon and also to protect the Zealot.
And there's really no damage found at all. But we are seeing 1-1 Lings on the way. So a bit of a different style for Life this game. And, you know, this is more of a rarer style, keeping with that Ling aggression.
And he's looking to flood this out a little bit now. He's already lost 46 Zerglings. He's invested in even more. Well, picks off one of the pylons. There's still a lot of Zerglings, as you can see on the minimap. But as long as Classic stays solid, which is his game plan for the entire of the series, it's a good spot for him to be in.
That's right, and I mean, Classic already has the work lead as well. It's all about him staying strong right now, but look at this.
He's a little bit out in the open here. Got to be very careful. He does have quite a few force fields to protect himself.
Really has to stay close to those walls, close to those choke points, and really have those efficient force fields.
So what are the benefits of going for Zergling style, especially now we're even seeing a Baneling nest coming to complement this?
Well, you know, Banelings is certainly the one that it kind of baffles a lot of people, I think, at this point. You know, it's very rare that we see Banelings very effective against Protoss these days. Maybe Life has some sort of strategy either with Overlord drops or simply going to be trying to crash into them early enough. But there's already so many sentries on the map that it's going to be a very difficult sort of engagement.
It's going to come down to the force fields ultimately. And Classic just needs to have hands that aren't going to betray him.
Absolutely. Well, I think the next step here is what we see next. And look at that already. Ventral Sax is being upgraded, so it is going to be those Baneling drops. A very interesting style that we almost never see. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds against that Sentry Stalker style as well, because Blink's going to play a big part in this.
I mean, one game that stands out in the last month or so was that Pro League game where we did see Rogue against Hero, and it had devastating effect here. And if Life's able to pull this out, he is going to end this game with explosions, and it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of Banelings blowing up absolutely everywhere. But right now, Classic is moving out. Life is not ready for this yet. He's still going to wait for a lot of upgrades to complete.
Yes, that's right. He's still miles away from getting that Overlord drop. So he's going to be defending with pure Ling Baneling, which is certainly not favorable against this kind of style. And he also chose that gold base, which means, well, it is insanely hard to defend because simply Stalkers can sit behind it and shoot it all day. It looks like Life's going to be going for a huge counterattack, perhaps on that third or natural.
Borrowed Banelings on the third to protect while he attacks with a bunch of Zerglings on the other side. This could be huge because there is not an Observer, and the Oracle has absolutely no idea, so why would he look to find Borrowed Banelings at this point? And he does! He actually finds it, and this is huge for Classic. The force fields come in, a blink backwards, and this is huge for Classic.
Absolutely beautiful force fields there, but look at this, a huge counterattack with those Lings. They are upgraded, they can trade well against these Sentries, Zealot as well. Force fields go down though, it's going to give him some more time, but he has to give up the third for it.
And he's broken through here, Life, but at the same time, likewise has Classic, who strikes right before Life was ready with his core strategy. And he's been broken. There's a lot of Stalkers here. Obviously, Zergling and Banelings are not effective against this.
Well, it's essentially a huge base trade, but the only problem is that third base is still intact for Classic. It's going to be very hard to break with Zerglings alone. If he can find a way to overwhelm this army, maybe he has a shot at winning this game, but it's such a difficult army to fight against.
All right, we're going to have Banelings getting into these Overlords for one last-ditch attempt at defending the second base. A couple of them go rolling in. They get cut off by force fields. The Overlords move forward here, and not the hits that Life would have wanted to hold this position. And Classic, very well done here, has broken the third. He's starting to stabilize back at home as well.
So he's going to try and trade out with this natural here, but more warp-ins and more Zealots coming from the main. Even if he kills it, I don't think he's really in a good place at all after losing that third base. It's going to be 3 Nexus against 2 Hatchery, a place Zerg never wants to be.
And, well, Life's going to try and roll this one back. He's got a couple of Overlords full of Banelings, which are ultimately going to be aiming for the mineral lines. And if he can do that, he's going to hurt Classic a lot. But at the same time, he has to start to think about how to combat a +2 Blink Stalker army, which is still building up.
Well, he is making that Roachling Bane army still a lot more Roaches on the way. So it looks like Life might just be going, you know, the only chance I really have left in this game is to be going for that one big attack, try and overwhelm while the Protoss is still rebuilding their infrastructure, rebuilding that cyber core as well.
And even the Robotics Bay coming in here to go towards the Colossus tech for Life. I mean, for Classic. And let's find out how this next part of this game is going to unfold. Is it counterattacks? What is Life planning, do you think?
I think it's either going to be the Overlord drop in the third base as we see Overlords move up now. And it looks like a drop into the main base as well, perhaps. He's getting in place right now. He's kind of shown those Overlords, though. And it might have triggered Classic to move back and be more defensive.
Yeah, Classic already anticipating this move towards the third, identifying this style very early on, actually. Gave him a great fight on that third base of Life, but Life's going to attack into this main base. The army of Classic's not too far away.
Not too far away, and he sees it now, so he's going to be moving up that ramp. At the same time, at that third base, the Overlords are going in.
And they're dealt with excellently. Fantastic defense here by Classic. He's in position. He pulls his probes away from danger. And this is absolutely beautiful here by Classic. He's going to try and save this Nexus, but it is not going to be saved. But overall, Life just threw his entire army at this, and it didn't work out the way he wanted it to.
Well, I'm sure, at the very least, he got that main Nexus, but I don't think it was worth it for his entire army as we see the supply differences at this point. It's 160 to 112. That is not a good place to be. It's unsure, though. Is Classic going to counterattack from here? He knows that he's wiped out the main force of the army. He could go for that killing blow, but Life will be waiting to counterattack as we already see Lings flood into that third base.
And flooding into this, and behind all of this, Infestors have been made. And they're starting to save up some energy for some fungal growths. These Zerglings can have a look around, but there's 25 Stalkers. A single Colossus has now joined the Protoss army. And And this is going to be interesting to see how Life's going to pull this up. He's at a 60 supply deficit. The Templar Archives coming into play, as well as Void Ray production starting up.
Yeah, so going into the High Templar will obviously be very effective against this army in general with Psystorm, but those feedbacks will be crucial against those Infestors as well. Life is really going for this cloak and dagger style, trying to avoid the big fight and go for every other angle he can. He knows he's behind in like economy and infrastructure and even like army sort of composition, but he's trying to hang in there on the same economy.
How long is it going to take until Life is ready to fight head on? I think it's a long, long time.
It's a very long time. There's really no hope for it at this point until he gets this fourth up and running, perhaps a hive. Look at this, a Void Ray has found all the Overlords as well, so no real hope of that happening anytime soon.
Well, he's going to fungal this Void Ray to slow it down to allow these Overlords to escape. I'm going to warp into Stalkers, trying to chase these down. He's going to find them.
Well, he might get a fungal on them too. Maybe these leagues can trade out with these Stalkers, would be a pretty good trade-off, I guess, but still, a lot of Overlords going down. The supply difference is getting bigger and bigger as well. Infestors are good, but they need something with them to be effective against Protoss.
Yeah, and what is that going to be here? He traps down the Void Ray and also this Oracle, but it is now +3 attack for Classic. He's got Storm about to finish, and that is a very scary Protoss army, and Classic is looking to draw blood here in the semi-finals against the world champion. He's going to move out and establish his fourth, while still knowing that Life is all about the counter-attacks. He's making sure that he is not vulnerable to that. Zergling borrowed underneath that Protoss army, taken out. No more vision for Life there.
Life really prolonging this game, trying his best to come back into this. And Classic is in no hurry to end it either. You know, he knows how far ahead he is. He knows he's kind of deflected everything he's had to against Life. And once again, he's going to be moving back, no doubt, to try and deal with this army. If he can wipe out this army, maybe he can finally go for that counterattack, but a lot of units getting into the main and natural.
Yep, and that's going to bring Classic's attention away from an attack. He recalls back into this main base, and he is going to deal with this small Protoss army very easily. And what is Life buying time for at this point? 5 Corruptors, the greatest spire, is now underway for Life. He's looking towards Broodlords again. As you already said, he still needs more time. But is he running out of it?
I think he is at this point. That once that's been deflected, he's already chasing the remaining parts of that army. He scouts. He actually scouts with an observer. No doubt he was looking at that. The Infestors and the Corruptors. He knows he wants to go into Broodlords. He knows he's against time. He's throwing down that Stargate now as well as that Fleet Beacon. So looks like he might be going for that poke. Maybe try and fight this army before they get up and running.
All right, this is going to be an interesting fight as Classic looks to tie this series up. Identifying what he's up to and is looking to fight, is looking to strike. And this is where the victory is going to lie, on this third base. And here we go. Hallucinated Colossus at the front here, and that's going to tank damage from the Corruptors at the start. Storms come down on these Corruptors, and they are not lasting long at all. A good set of fungals, but this is Classic's game. This is Classic's map. GG, and he takes game number 2 and ties the series up.
Really interesting style from Life that game, going for those Baneling drops, but simply too little too late there. It would have been an amazing thing if he got that Baneling bomb as well, with those burrowed Banes outside his third, but no luck there at all. Took a chance on a map that's pretty unfavorable for him and his style. No doubt the next map, I believe, is Coda. Will be a much more interesting one for Life as well, going for more of an aggressive sort of build.
Yeah, this was an, again, aggressive opening here for Life, who spent a lot of money and a lot of lava on Zergling production, but was not able to really break through. And these were thrown away to an essence as Classic, which kind of overarches his game plan, as mentioned, of the entire series. Do not let Life get this type of play working. And here was one brilliant move, as we're about to see. The identification that there could be something wrong here.
Absolutely, and the blink back here, and even the force field zoning out these Banelings, just saving all those sentries, which is such a critical thing when you're dancing around with Blink Stalkers against upgraded Zerglings as well. And as you see the kind of base trade scenario here, it's simply unfavorable as well for Life, and it ended up in Classic's win. But Coda is the next map, and this one should be a good one. Pretty even map in general. No doubt Classic going to be going for that same kind of style, be defensive as he can, take it to as late as he can, and Life going to be trying to find his way in.
And of course, a very important map, number 3. The winner of this will get game point with 1 game left to go to move to the grand finals. Both of these players have guaranteed themselves $15,000 for being top 4 at the World Championship. Second place, the winner of this series, guarantees himself $50,000, with the first place being $100K, and that is all on the line as well as the World Championship trophy. Game number 3 is Coda. Talk to us a little bit about Coda then. You've already mentioned that it is a smaller map, a more standardized map. Live's going to be looking to be aggressive and find a way, but what exactly is Classic going to be planning to take this 2-1?
Classic most likely will be trying for that third sort of base style that he did in the last game. It is a little bit harder to defend on, so he's going to be a little bit more careful against those Roach Hydra timings, especially from Life. So we see that Natural is kind of more exposed between the third and the Natural. There's a lot of space there, so force fields are a little bit less effective. So it's really going to come down to what does Life do early to try and stop this from happening.
All right, BlizzCon, let's hear it this time as we load into game number 3. Up here to the top left-hand side as the blue Protoss player makes some noise for Classic! And I know you're all fans of this cheeky Zerg player. Down here to the bottom right-hand side, playing for KT Roster, it's Live! And Moonglade.
Mr. Apollo.
What do we have to start game number 3 up?
It looks like we have a 6 pool to start things off here. Maybe bringing back some of the strategies he used against Lil Bo in the round of 16. He wants to get the job done nice and quick once again, and look at this. A gateway at the Natural, gonna be very exposed to these Lings. If it was a Forge, maybe there was a chance Classic would be able to have an easy defense, but not at this point. He will get that early scout off though, so he will know what's on the way, but it's gonna be up to Life. It's gonna do the damage, try and fight the probes effectively, and maybe try and end the game, I guess. I mean, there's not really coming back from this unless you do some critical worker damage.
Okay, so a nice, clear advantage in build orders for Life, which has been spotted by Classic. He knows what's coming on, and now comes the reaction. How do you stop this, and what does he have to focus on?
He's throwing down another pylon already. Looks like he wants to perhaps block the ramp here. It's going to be a tricky feat, especially, you know, without a Forge there, maybe a cannon to help out. He's going to try and get out these Zealots in time. Lings are already there, though. So that second pylon, though, is going to keep that gateway powered, perhaps until that Zealot is out.
The full wall has been constructed by Classic, but it will not take long for these Zerglings to break it down. And there are more Zerglings on the way as well. The first pylon is going to go down in rapid speed. The Zealot pops out, and it is in the right position. That's a good start for Classic.
Certainly a good start as well. Looks like Life's going to be working on everything else, though. And, well, it's going to be about what can he do here. More and more probes will most likely be pulled down as well once that second Zealot is out to fight these Zerglings.
Cybernet's core shields are down. The hit points are being targeted now by these 4 Zerglings on the right-hand side, and that is going down rapidly. Second Zealot is out, but there's hungry Zerglings ready to pounce at these Zealots if they come too far. A secondary wall is being constructed. Is it complete? I'm not sure it is right now.
Oh, not yet. Looks like that probe is blocking it too. It gets that final pylon down. More and more Lings on the way.
So far, so good for Classic. He's not got any Zealots surrounded yet, but more, as you say, Zerglings are on the way. And there is a hole on this right-hand side, and Life sees it, and he is in! But can he defeat these 3 Zealots? A 4th one is on the way. He's looking for a full surround, and is he going to get it? The Zealots pull back. Probes come to assist.
Oh, big surround here. This might be Life's one chance. He gets a huge surround on these Zealots and probes.
1 probe goes down, 2 probe goes down, 1 Zealot goes down. There's only a couple of them left, and more Zerglings flooded. The last remaining Zealots are being taken down. Another one pops out, but it looks like Classic has enough. Good control by Classic, keeps it alive, and that momentum has been stopped. And Classic, with all the pressure and nerves here, holds this position, Moonglade.
So close. And still with twice the workers as well. Life knows he isn't completely all in from this. More and more Lings are streaming and being made across the map. Queen as well at this point, but it really just comes down to, does he find a way in? Can he even find a way in at this point? There is so many Zealots out and a full wall.
So what does he do now? I mean, he started to build a couple of Zerglings. Classic obviously looking to fortify the defense, eventually get this Nexus down. A Sentry's going to be a key unit here. Mothership Core likewise. But at this point, when you're playing from this position, where do you go and what do you do?
It's really, is there even a way to go back from this? I think the way he's been doing it so far, you know, we did see him make a drone, so perhaps he wants to change back into a macro game, but when you're this far behind, I mean, he's 16 workers to 8 at this point. How do you come back from with a Protoss that has such an economic advantage like this?
The community back at home, 92% of you think that Life is going to win this series. If you think otherwise, do make sure to hashtag WCS and hashtag who you think is going to win, and we'll see a little bit later on if those numbers do change. But now, as you said, Life, drones are on the way. Mothership Core is out to start to push these back.
Well, he's going to be forced back away from the wall. More and more Zealots were being made, but it looks like Classic can go back into his comfortable macro game from here, knowing how far ahead he is in terms of economy after deflecting a 6-pool like that. Looks like he will be going for that Nexus at the natural as well.
Nexus down, and now Life has to find a way in game number 3. Otherwise, this is going to be a very rocky downhill slope for him as Classic with a huge advantage after that magnificent hold, which we've seen many a Protoss fail to. With a Sentry now, he's looking to fortify this completely, and of course, starting to build up towards maybe a finishing move. Of course, has multiple ways that he can take this lead and this advantage.
Now, we have seen this kind of situation before. Perhaps even in that match against Lilbo at one point, Lilbo deflected what Life had early. But, you know, in the mid-game, Life still found a way back in. He is probably the one player that even in this kind of situation can find a win. It really is such a strange thing, but he's kind of used to this situation as well. You know, he's far behind in economy against an opponent and a race that just does so well in this kind of situation that you wouldn't think it's actually possible at all to come back into this. But when he gets Lings on the map, once he gets that Zergling speed done, he will find ways.
Well, that's the thing right now, though. I mean, he hasn't even started to get a Vespian Geyser. He hasn't started to bring in any gas. He's working off pure minerals, and he's cutting many a corner to be able to get that worker count back up to rival what Classic has. He is getting there slowly, but if these Zealots are on the other side of the map, there is nothing there. There is absolutely no defense whatsoever. A Stargate has been placed for Classic as his follow-up to this lead.
Looks like it, yeah. Just going to be simply going back into his normal game from here, but with a huge lead. I kind of like this idea from Classic. It's the safest, most cleanest way to win, no doubt about that. You know, just simply play your game, but from ahead. And it means he's going to get to that max ahead as well and simply go for an even stronger push than the last game. It's going to be up to Life to find a way in if he even can.
Yeah, still no gas income yet for Life. Fully still concentrated on minerals. This hallucinated Oracle. It's going to have a look around and see where Classic is in this game in comparison to where Life is. And he sees that no gas has been taken anywhere. He knows that it is Queens and slow Zerglings alone. Gateways and additional gateways come down. And he's already moving out to the middle of the map with what he had from the early defense.
Yep, I mean, even this small army of Classics right now threatens the life of Life. I mean, he's going to be dealing with these Zerglings as well, and if he gets them off the map, things get infinity times easier to just simply move across with the probe, throw down a nice pylon in a proxy position, and go for the kill.
Multiple Queens are on the way. Still Life with no gas income. Slow Zerglings and Queens with Spore Crawlers in correct positions is the way that he's looking to defend against this. Somehow, if he's able to eliminate this army, the game changes. The game changes a lot. But right now, Classic warping in aggressively with a lot of gateways to support this. And here we go. He's going to move forward and have a look.
Sees Slowlings, a Spore, and 2 Queens. He knows what he's up against. It's about how he's engaging to this. Does he just simply wait for more Zealots? He has so many gateways at this point and such a great pylon position.
Couple of Spine Crawlers to assist in the defense. As Classic takes the left-hand side. No creep here. It's a good position to be in. The Spore Crawler moves to not be taken out early, and now Life, with all his Queens, must defend this location. Mothership comes in, takes a little bit of damage from these Spore Crawlers. There's one pokes forward, and here the first assault begins from Classic. 4 skills need to be planted in key locations, and he lets a lot of Zerglings slip out, but it is, of course, much harder for them to attack in. Oracle takes damage. One Queen goes down. No, he gets Transfused there. One Oracle goes down instead, and Transfuse is doing the work.
Somehow, Life is holding on for now. Those Zealots are getting weaker and weaker at the front. A lot of Force Fields did not do him any favors. And with those 2 Oracles gone, can Life actually hold this?
And he's going to get a surround on these Zealots at the front here with Queen support. And Life is going to push Classic's original force back. And with a lot more Zerglings on the way, can he keep this up? Spinecrawler's moving more to the front to help protect this location. One Queen gets Transfused again. And Life is pushing Classic back. I don't know how he's done this, but Classic is on the retreat. He falls back to his reinforcements, and Life holds this position, Moonglade.
He somehow holds this. He's still behind in economy in a pretty big way, but he's sitting on 3 hatcheries, 3 bases. All he needs to do is find a way to make drones for them, and he'll be in a great place, and he takes even out one of the pylons at the front there.
Yeah, there is another one on the left-hand side. Life repositions his small army, and he's building even more Zerglings at this point. Still gasless at 14 minutes in this game. Classic coming around for another attack. Remember, while he's building more units, he's also an optimal workers for 2 base here. Classic, he's got a great economy, and he's continuing to grow this army size.
Well, looks like he's going to try again. He does have that Oracle as well, but 2 Spinecrawlers in a pretty decent place, but sitting behind this mineral line will do a lot of work in terms of deflecting these Zerglings.
And this is very tricky for Life to engage into. A fantastic position for Classic, who is slowly chipping away at that hatchery, which cannot be lost here. And a couple of forces on the right-hand side as Life comes around the left as well. And he's looking to deploy this force, but Classic continues to hold strong, focusing down the hatchery. It gets transfused. There is a lot of Queens here. The Zealots on the right-hand side have been taken out. The Oracle goes down as well.
More and more units coming in as well. A big Zealot warp in. And looks like he's going to shave off some of these Queens. Still hasn't found the kill on the hatchery yet, but a lot of Lings have gone down at this point as well.
And here come more Zerglings. The Spinecrawler and a couple of Spores at the front have been destroyed. Life pushes Classic back again to more reinforcements, continuing to hold on. But to what end?
What end indeed. Oh, big forces go down, and now 4 Queens are trapped. They're going to try and hold on with some transfuses, but they are certainly going down.
Oh, that's the end of this one, with 4 or 5 Queens going down in the front. He's lost all his momentum here. Classic keeping up the pressure over and over and over. Down falls the hatchery, and Life is on 2 bases. And now Classic in the driving seat, like he has been throughout this game, to be honest, continues to march forward in search of victory number 2 in this series, picking off a couple of straggling Zerglings.
Oh, even cornering Queens and Zerglings as well, most of the army. A horrible place for Life to be in, and I think we might see him tap out in just a second.
And Classic, stay solid and stay strong. Life with one last-ditch effort to defend this, calls GG, and Classic, with a sigh of relief, goes up 2 games to 1.
I almost think we should give Life that win for holding on for so long in such a ridiculous situation. He's done it time and time again. It's absolutely insane how he lures these players into a false sense of security and then somehow turns it around with defending.
And here, let's look back to the heat of the early game, which really set the tone for this, thanks to our Windows 10 game DVR function. And this hold, Moonglade, walk us through this.
Well, it was a beautiful sort of positioning with these Zealots, kind of baiting them back. He sacrificed a lot of probes for this, but he got into a nice little corner, which kind of denied these Zerglings the wraparound they needed to really get rid of them before that extra Zealot came out. It was really a beautiful play from Classic. He knew exactly what he had to do, and then the aggression happened on this 3rd base for quite a long time, much longer than I think Classic was expecting as well. And he's going to keep pushing forward. I think probably the biggest reason why it went for so long is these force fields blocking the Zealots in the north. Yeah. They just couldn't get in there, and they took a lot of damage for free.
But the underline here is Life does not have the economy to keep up with, as you see at the bottom here, 43 workers and continued pro production.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was just a matter of time until he was whittled down. It was either Life somehow destroys the army and destroys the pylon, or he's just going to get whittled down until nothing.
And this was the beginning of the end here. The trap of 4 or 5 Queens and a lot of Zerglings, which sees Classic move with 2 games in a row up 2-1. So fantastic turnaround here from Classic as we go to match point for the SK Telecom player, and we'll see if he's able to close this one up. We're going to head over to the couch to hear the thoughts from Day 9 and the rest of the crew.
Thank you, Apollo. Thank you, Moonglade. What a dynamic series it's been. I mean, we've seen pretty much every kind of play. We've seen timing attacks, solid responses. I mean, Dario, that was a really tense final game. A long defense from Life, but what a bold play to go for that sort of early rush.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And who else would play a 6-pool but Life at BlizzCon? I mean, you gotta give him credit for, you know, just having the courage to do that. But unfortunate build order for him. Pylon Gateway, obviously the best response, especially after an early scout by Classic. But, you know, that's the issue of playing against Life. You never know what you're going to expect, and I feel like Classic might be a little bit afraid what is coming next game, even though he's ahead.
We've seen that a couple times too. Like last night, the Zergling that scouted Hydra's timing attack that he was going for. If it doesn't get scouted, maybe that's a good game and change the whole dynamic of that series. Here, we saw Lilbo do the same build. I don't believe he did a probe scout, but this time Classic does it, because I think the intention is to face a normal Zerg opening and then just have your Zealots kind of be the scout, leaning out a little bit aggressively. But his ability to do crisis management there was really, really sick, and it was kind of the difference. And all of a sudden, he's at match point. It's huge.
You know, we've talked a lot about setting the pace. You know, Life doing his weird builds, SOS doing his weird builds, and that can put the opponent off kilter. And Classic, in a lot of ways, is not quite doing that. He's just that amazing at dealing with whatever is thrown at him. Because, you know, when I look at those games, my instinct is to, again, want to not focus on Classic, right? Like the timing push that Life did in the first game. Wow, what a bold play in the last game. But I mean, Maynard, Classic just seems kind of impregnable in a lot of these circumstances.
He's playing pretty much standard Protoss. He hasn't done anything out of the ordinary or anything crazy.
Yeah.
He's up against the guy that's doing the crazy thing while doing the standard thing. And the reason why standard things are standard is because they're quite good against everything.
Well,
and, you know, so...
You're like 2 standards away from breaking, I think. You're just going
to... Standard. Yep.
Yeah.
But,
interestingly, the first game where Classic was a little bit more aggressive himself with the 40T push didn't work out at all, because Life is just really good at punishing you after your build has not worked out entirely perfectly. Because 40Ts against the hatch is not terrible, but you ideally need 1 or 2 DTs to at least stay alive, so Life can't move out. But then Life just knows his timing, goes for Roach Hydra, and kills you.
That's my favorite part about watching Life by far, is when you see a little switch go off. When you see him go, all right, we won. I'm all in. And I mean, and he does it right after he loses his hatchery. I mean, very few Zergs were like, yes, lost my hatch, let's do this.
Trap set. This is the first time that we've seen Life in all of the BlizzCon tournament so far with his back up against the wall. So it's kind of interesting too, because we've been really excited about him. He's been dominating, but now he's being tried for the first time, where it's like, okay, you got to play, hopefully, 2 more games, or if you lose either one of those, you're out of here. And just as quick as we were talking about Life being super impressive, we will stop talking about him for the rest of HOTS. All of it.
Which is actually 2-3 days.
Literally. But that's it's a long time, kind of. Not really. It's not.
I mean, the legacy that Life is trying to preserve is, of course, he was the first champion of Heart of the Swarm, the very first tournament, right after the game came out, and people weren't exactly sure how the game was supposed to pan out. Flash faced Life in the finals, and Life pulled off wins with the same sort of style that we're talking about today. Just this recognition of there's a weakness and sweeping right in for the timing attack. But even though Life is in the top 4, and that's an amazing legacy to have been that consistent throughout, this is such a huge match for Life. Every single player who is remaining in this tournament wants to be the final champion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you even say that it's an even bigger match for Classic, though? Because Life already has a recognition, at least. But if Classic manages to take BlizzCon, he's suddenly going to be the guy.
I'm not sure, but did Dario find a way to disagree with you on that statement, kind of?
Well, not necessarily. See what I did there?
Indeed I did, but I agree with you on not necessarily.
Well, the players have returned to the booth. Life was the one this time that wanted the extended breakaway. Let's see if he has collected himself and is ready for match number 4. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you very much, Day 9. It's 2-1 for Classic. Are we going to see a turnaround, Moonglade? Do you believe in Life?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think he's going to do very well in this next map, and I think it's going to go to Game 5.
All right, so we are going to be loading into our next map. It's going to be Moonlight Madness, and we're into it really fast, actually, a lot faster than I thought we would do. So let's transform the stage, ready for Game 4 of these two players. Classic, one game away from the Grand Finals of 2015. Here we go. Down here to the bottom left-hand side is that very man. Sporting in as the blue Protoss player, it's Classic! And in this series, the challenger to the current lead up here is the red Zerg player, the reigning world champion of 2014, it's Life!
Well, no early pull this time, which I think is good news. I don't think Life will be busting it out again against Classic. Classic seems to be prepared for it. He seems to be thinking about it a lot. And, you know, the rush distance on this map as well is a little too long. But you know what? This map is great for the counterattack style. This is great for the kind of lifestyle that he wants to do. Right. And maybe we'll even see some Mutalisks.
And we've already seen a very early decision from the champion. He's decided to go for an extractor, followed by spawn and pull pretty fast.
14-14, early speedling build. It might mean that he wants to start working on those back rocks nice and early and go for a Ling attack. Perhaps that's something that Classic will not be expecting. We saw it happen in that game against Lilbo on this map as well, which really spelled his demise early on. I'm not sure if Classic will fall the same way. I'm sure he's going to be thinking about that, considering it only happened a few days ago. But maybe something, maybe Life will be looking for something else with this style as well. You know, there's a lot of different options you can have when you go for early speedlings.
Well, so far, Classic is playing in the dark. He's got his Nexus down, followed by Gateway, and now he sends out the first scouting probe of the game. Currently got no idea what's going on, and he is going to have a good insight to this very early, and we'll see his preparation to defending that back area, which we did, of course, see Life take against Lilbo in the round of 16. So talk to us right now. Classic's about to enter the main base of Life, and it is going to be spotted. What is he going to be thinking about? He's going to be able to see the gas has been mined as well.
That's right. He's going to know pretty much exactly what Life opened with. He's going to know the exact style that Life is looking for. And from here, I mean, it's going to be about babysitting those back rocks so he knows if it's starting to be attacked. And maybe Classic will go for that earlier sort of Stargate again so he can push away those Lings nice and early as well. But, you know, from here, Life can transition as well. He doesn't have to sit at upgrading these speedlings. He may go for a faster lair. He can go into a Roach Warren. We'll see where he commits this gas or if he's going to stick with it for now.
Well, he's decided to add on another set of Zerglings here. We'll see how far he wants to take this. He's already putting pressure on the front wall. The gateway shields are down and the pylons are being worked on. And at this moment, two Zealots have come out. Life continues to build Zerglings, Moonglade.
More and more Lings are on the way, and he's got that gateway down to a quarter of its health already. This is a very dangerous place to be.
And he's going to be looking to try and break this full wall. He's not looking at those back rocks. He's looking at breaking the front door down. And the gateway taking more and more damage. And he sneaks around. He goes around the two Zealots in Classic out of position. Allows Zerglings in. Then alarm bells have got to be ringing in the house of SK Telecom as Life has entered and more units flood through. And just like that, Life again finds a way, and that gateway is going to go down, and it is the only gateway that Classic has. It's down. The mothership core is the only thing he has. Two Zealots left. All the probes are pulled off the line. And a simple mistake like that, a mistake on the World Championship stage, will cost you. And right now, Life is in driving motion towards going to Game 5. The wrap around the Zealots, the wrap around the probes, and I don't think it matters how hard you micro, how hard you try, with the front door open and more Zerglings here to play, here to nibble away at that cybernetics ball.
He's even dancing the Zerglings. He's triggered the photon overcharge finally at the natural. Perhaps he wanted to do that in the main base, but the economic damage is already there. He can run the Lings in at any time he wants. He's going to claim that main's Nexus, and from there, what can Classic do from here?
Classic has to be hitting himself questioning himself in the booth right now. One game away, just one game away from the grand finals, and it has been ripped apart by a very simple, aggressive play from Life. And Life waiting until that Photon Overcharge is down on the second base, and he will launch himself at that cybernetics core and that gateway to bring it down. More and more Zerglings are on the way. He's going even before the Photon Overcharge is down. And here we need to see the Great War of Korea. Moonglade, if he's going to hold on to this.
Absolutely, he's going to need another Photon Overcharge at least, and I don't think there's any gas left in the tank of that Mothership core. Down goes the wall, only probes left over.
GG! Life takes it to game 5, and a little bit of a fist pump from the young superstar. As what a game, what a decision
What
to
a
go
decision.
for that. And what a mistake!
Huge mistake, but who even thinks to do that? Who thinks as the Zerg player, you know what? I'm going to make Speedlings, I'm going to break the front door because that happens. Apparently only with Life, because I've tried that a million times and it never worked.
And here we see the mistake again, which cost Classic this front wall, and at the end cost him the game.
Yeah, doing so much damage very early onto that gateway. It was just waiting to be killed. The moment that speed happened, but you know, he was too forward with those Zealots. He let the Lings into the main base, and when you have that many Speedlings in the main base this early on, what can you possibly do?
Well, nothing, as we saw there, as he does go down in game number 4. And with the entry of the Zerglings was the end of the game for Classic here. Everything was just falling apart, and of course, he had to be so mad at a mistake like that. But at the end of the day, it is 2-2, and we're going to game 5. And game 5 is going to take place on Bridgehead.
Fantastic map as well, but the last map, you know, it does have that huge backdoor once again, as is the theme of this map pool. A lot of multiple areas of attack, and surely going to be favoring Life if you can get that momentum once again. We're going to have to wait and see what he's got planned for this one, because he's just doing anything now.
Do you think that Classic's going to be, you know, a bit thrown off now inside that booth on the stage?
Classic is certainly a player that does get emotional, does get frustrated, and it shows in his play as well. Life, on the other hand, he's the kind of player that just gets angry and plays better. So we're kind of seeing that, especially in that last game. Life gets more loose. He wants to go crazy and do crazier things. So we could even see another early pull this game. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, Bridgehead, game number 5. The players have loaded in, and the winner of this game goes to the grand finals of the global finals for the World Championship Series for 2015, and gets a shot at being, again for Life, the world champion, or new for Classic. Here we go. One game left to the left-hand side here, as the blue Protoss player has to hold his nerves together. It's Classic! His opponent looking to break those very nerves, break his opponent's mentality on the right-hand side as the red Zerg player, it's Life!
So far, no gas, no pool, no early aggression. Maybe Life going to sit back, slow things down on this kind of map. On the other hand, though, Classic going for that, once again, early gateway, to try and deflect anything that might be coming his way early.
Yeah, a safer opening here can, of course, defend and deflect a lot of early builds with this, especially if he has a probe moving out to scout what Life is up to. But Life has no aggressive plans to start game number 5. He has expanded once to the north. Will he expand twice? Will he just want to throw down the spawning pool?
He does see that early probe. It could trigger him to make that spawning pool instead of a second hatchery, but you know, it's not out of the realm of impossibility that he wants to go for that third hatch.
And he is going to do it. This, for all Life knows, could be a cannon rush, and definitely against, you know, more confident and more capable players. This could have been, but Classic has played the safe card here, and Life seems to have won that type of mind game coming into game number 5, has called it, has predicted it, and has opened up with a very good economic build.
I mean, what kind of player wouldn't be on the defensive after a game like last game? It's surely, he knows he's in his head right now. He knows how defensive he must be playing. And Classic naturally is that kind of defensive player as well, but he's certainly not going to be going for any sort of early forge. So it does make sense that Life wants to do this. And he really is going to be ahead in the economic way.
And that's already a good confidence boost for Life, and you know, a bit of a shake the head for Classic moment too, saying, oh, okay, this is how we're going to play this. These are the 2 openers that we've chosen. But of course, just a slight lead it is, and can always be turned on its head, depending on the next set of moves that we see from either side.
I still feel that we most likely will see that Oracle opening again from Classic. It is also a natural reaction to that double hatchery before pool. Try and do some economic damage and secure your own third nice and early. So both players kind of getting into that economic groove right now. None of them want to push the aggression anytime soon.
And Classic today would be looking at his 4th StarCraft 2 championship if he was to win this one. Life would be looking at his 11th. That's an incredible feat to have in StarCraft 2 at such a young age.
It's absolutely ridiculous how well Life has done. As we see, yeah, that very, very early 3rd Nexus. And, you know, you can get away with this as well, because what's Life going to have at this point?
Yeah.
He's building Spore Crawlers right now. He's waiting for that Oracle already. Instead, these Lings are going to be coming across this Nexus instead.
So the Zerglings here are going to see the counter move from Classic. And he goes forward here. Spore Crawlers can be cancelled. What is his plan, though, for this Life? He cancels one of the Spore Crawlers. I'm imagining he would have cancelled the other on this base as well. And Classic setting himself up with a good mid-game economy. Very, very early 3rd Nexus grants him 3 probes at the same time to be built, 3 sets of Chrono Boost to be used.
Barely saved that Overlord, or does he?
He does.
In the perfect place right there.
But what are some reactions we can see from Life here? He's going to start tickling these back rocks, but he has Zergling speed on the way. He's building 8 more Zerglings. Does he ever try to challenge the fact that his opponent's on so few units, his spread's so thin?
I mean, that's certainly one way to do it. Classic's certainly been like so greedy with his opening, and we're seeing more and more Lings being invested into, so it looks like he maybe wants to go for that 3rd base at some point. But more gateways are finishing up as well, so he's going to have a lot of weapons as well as that photon overcharge.
So this becomes very simple at this moment. Life is investing a lot of money in lava, again, into high amounts of Zerglings. He also has a Roach Warren behind this. He's opening up his supply with more and more overlords. He is going to play this aggressively. Will he defeat this area, this location? Classic, you have to defend. It is all about a game of defense now for Classic to win this, and likewise a game of aggression for Life to win this.
Look where the Mothership Core is right now, and look how out of position it is for this 3rd base. If these Lings run in and wrap around the Nexus, what can he possibly do to defend it?
All right, Zerglings come in. The first cannon there is going to be taken out, or the second one, should I say, and the Lings get in. The Mothership Core has to come down to defend this. It's so far away, looking for Zerglings breaking down the rocks. A couple of force fields or defensive units up there on the left-hand side. Pylon has been taken down here. The Nexus under threat. Can Classic defend this?
He's going to try. Lings going for a wraparound, already forcing out force fields. And then that
sentry goes down. Photon overcharge has been activated. Life has been pushed back for now. Roach is streaming across, though. When that photon overcharge goes down, he will be looking to strike again. But Classic has a little bit of time here. He needs another pylon to get those gateways online. He needs cannons to be built. Life pressuring at the north as well at this very point in time. And here, he's going to strike before the photon overcharge is down. He goes in, and he's wanting that pylon down. He knows gateways are being powered. He tries to get towards the sentries, and the pressure continues from Life.
Simply too much here. He's going to unpower these 2 gateways once again. Still underneath that photon overcharge, but it will be running out very shortly. Only sentries left over to defend against this many Roach Lings.
The sentries have been targeted down by the Zerglings. 2 or 3 of them go down, and even another one. This is huge for Life. He's breaking through, and Classic has lost a lot. He's even inside the main base. Oh no, Classic. Again, the aggression of Life is working, and the flood, the swarm, the Zerg is here, and the main Nexus is being targeted.
So much damage already. Photon overcharge activated, but there's simply not enough damage here to deal with these Roaches. More and more probes coming in to help out as well, but look at how many Lings are coming up the ramp.
There is so many units here, and they will never stop. They will never stop this aggression towards the Protoss base. And Life, sticking true to his style, has found a way against Classic and is looking at 2 grand finals in a row, something that nobody has done before. And he enters the main base consistently rallying the forces together. Classic was up 2 games to 1 and was ripped away by Life, who enters again with more units. Classic can't believe this has happened, but today is Life's day. GG! Back-to-back grand finals. Life has done it again. He goes to the grand final.
And here he stands, the first player to go back-to-back finals here at the WCS Global Finals. I want to ask about that first. I mean, you've already made a title for yourself just achieving that. 자, 이번 이제 결승 진출로 인해서 최초로 저희 WCS 2연속 결승 진출에 도달하셨는데 뭐 기분이 어떠세요?
일단 2대1로 몰렸을 때 조금 말렸었는데 제가 좀 강심장이라서 이겼던 것 같아요.
Yeah, you know, when I was down 2-1, I was a little bit worried, but, you know, I have a steel heart. I'm not going to be moved by things like that, and that's why I think I won. I was just a little bit stronger in the end. Let's talk about something related to hearts called attitude. You had your Zergling stance in a little bit, and I'm wondering, I mean, hey, if you lost that, you were out. Were you, I mean, sure, statistically it looked like you had to win it, but isn't it a little scary to do something like that? 저희 그러면 네 번째 맵에서 물론 누가 봐도 충분히 이제 이기는 게임이었기 때문에 저글링 춤추게 하셨겠지만 그렇게 하기에 조금 그래도 겁나지 않으셨어요? 거기서 혹시 조그만 실수로 졌으면 그냥 거기서 탈락이잖아요.
그 상황에서는 아마추어가 잡아도 이긴 상황이라서 일단 상대방 멘탈을 좀 붕괴시켜야 제가 5세트 때 유리할 것 같아서 했어요.
You know, at that point in the game, man, an amateur player could have just taken over my mouse and he still would have won. So it was important for me to make sure that Classic couldn't get back in Game 5. So I wanted to make sure I just destroyed how he was thinking as we got to Game 5. Well, you did it. Now the big question is, you're already in the finals. Some people think it'd be great to have you and SOS battle to decide who gets that second title first. Would you want that, or are you like, I don't care, I'm gonna win it either way? 그럼 저희 이제 결승에서 이제 상대로 김유진 선수가 올라온다면 두 분 다 두 번 타이틀을 잡을 기회가 있는데 그래서 김유진 선수를 만나고 싶으세요? 아니면 뭐 누가 올라와도 상관없다 그런 생각이세요?
솔직히 16강 때 왔을 때 저희 쪽이 너무 어려워서 상대분들이 좀 걱정했는데 반대쪽은 뭐 대충 해도 이길 것 같아요.
You know, when I saw the round of 16 bracket, my side of the bracket was way harder, so whoever comes up from the other side, not an issue. Ladies and gentlemen, Life goes on to his second consecutive WCS final.
Life, he did it! That was such an unreal match. I mean, not only is Life a 2-time finalist back-to-back, it was a KT player against an SK Telecom player. I mean, Jeff, Life is awesome every single time we watch him.
I think back to the epic words of Jeff Goldblum and that hit classic Jurassic Park, and then just like Life just finds a way.
Yeah,
just finds a way.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I've been working on that for a while because I knew Life was going to win because I totally predicted that.
I did too.
Yeah.
Now, Classic,
Yeah.
we have to give him some deference here because, I mean, Maynard, he didn't do anything amazing in terms of the innovation creativity department, but in terms of being a solid Protoss player, I mean, a standard, solid, stable Protoss. Those were so close, and even those losses were so close to stabilizing.
Tried so hard, got so far.
But in the end,
It's too soon.
Doesn't
Not that
even
too
matter.
soon, though.
All
I got
right.
you, crowd.
guys, we're going to be trying to make more Linkin Park references as they are playing tonight.
Lincoln Park!
At least 15 excited.
They all looked around.
There's
Are
all
other
the-
people going to cheer?
Yeah.
Because I want to cheer.
There's the 30-year-olds. I remember back when they came out as well. On your point, though, I mean, yeah, this is going to be a tough series for him to swallow. Like, the Ling rush in the game even just before that, where he's like, yeah, of course. I mean, against a Wallen like this, it's just a good prediction from life, a very frustrating way to lose. And he's like, all right, well, on Bridgehead, I'm going to make myself super safe. I thought his defense of the back rocks was really sound. The 2 gateway, 1 cannon walled in at the natural is usually something that European Zergs complain about all the time, as they die over and over again against that. But Life, look at him, just hammers right through it. And I think really one of the big pivotal moments here with this Windows 10 game DVR replay is knocking down those pylons and depowering 2/3 of his production.
The second pylon doesn't need to be at this far right. It's so much safer to put both there because the cannon does not matter that much. It can't kill the Zerglings at too high a rate. It's the bonus that tips you over the edge. It's the 2 gateways that are essential for the survival here. And Life's so sharp. Even in this fight, he was constantly debating between targeting the units, targeting the pylon. Look, targeting the pylon here, bouncing back. And it's so close. So due to the fact that Classic has had an amazing run from here on out going into Legacy of the Void, you will now know that Classic is the win toss. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Classic's amazing performance at this tournament. And for us as casters, may we never forget, may we never underrate Classic ever again. And
well, I mean, underrate him a little bit.
That's how we do it.
Didn't make it to the finals.
So Dario, I mean, if you're in Life's shoes, you're heading to the finals. It's SOS versus Rogue. I think a lot of us have been talking about SOS. Do you think the ideal is still to face Rogue in that circumstance, or do you think, based on what we've seen from Life, you're still leaning towards that?
Well, the thing is, if I would be in Life's shoes, I'd have to be a stone cold killer like Life, and I don't think he cares at all.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing about him. He just knows he's the best in his heart, and he's gonna win.
And if he was in Life's shoes, then Life would be in his shoes, and then Life would be here on the couch. And
that would be pretty
You'd be his sofa king.
Ooh. Life, the first grand finalist, the first 2-time ever finalist here at WCS. There is a chance to see a second as SOS is down in the second semifinal. Should SOS wins, we will have 2 returning champions in the global finals. So stay tuned because semifinal 2 is coming up.